Okay guys, if you loved my paranormal activity story, stick around because you're going to love this one. So, Lauren meets a boy called Charlie in her secondary school. She starts this secondary school in year 10. And he is one of the first people that she speaks to at the new school. The teachers put them in like a buddy system together. Straight away, she doesn't really love old Charlie boy. She's not a massive fan of his. They're just cut from different cloth. Lauren is very into like her studies. She's quite quiet. And Charlie, on the other hand, is like a bit of a Jack the Lad. A jock. What a jock would be in American stories. Charlie's a jock. She does, and she can appreciate that he is a handsome boy. As jocks are handsome, come on. Come year 11, they get put next to each other in maths. He is not that great at maths and she's very good, and the teacher feels like she could probably help him. And she says she was completely wrong about him. He is incredibly deep, very sensitive, very thoughtful. When he would go to the canteen and get himself a snack, he would actually bring something for her as well. So come year 12, both of them leave the school. She starts the sixth form at a completely different place, and Charlie decides that he's gonna go travelling. Now, in Lauren's mind, she is a little bit heartbroken and gutted that nothing ever happened between them. They've been to several parties together, both done a little bit of underage drinking, and she was kind of hoping that before he set off for travelling, they might have a cheeky kiss under the bike sheds or something, you know, like, yeah. No, but never happens. Anyway, he goes off travelling and they keep in contact, friendship vibes, platonic vibe. Lauren did actually get a boyfriend when she was at uni, and Charlie knew about this, and apparently he was quite gutted, but he kept it to himself. Guys, I'm trying to get some extensions, pick them up out my bag. Right, I've got them. Obviously this kind of unsaid attraction, invisible string theory going on here, because come Christmas Eve one year, both Lauren and Charlie would be in the same pub at the same time in their little hometown, both home for the holidays. Charlie's friends, years after this occasion, would actually tell Lauren that when Lauren walked into the pub that night, Charlie stopped everything he was doing, looked straight at her and was like, guys, she's here. Who? He said, Lauren. She's gonna be my wife one day. They were his actual words. They are inseparable that night. They go on a few dates. He takes her to Winter Wonderland. Lauren has broken up with her boyfriend. I forgot to say that. She's broken up with him. She's not. Sorry, Lauren. Shout out, Lauren. She's broken up with her boyfriend. He's long gone. They are smitten and they are never separated again. She would go on to get a job in early years education, and he would end up working for BT, which is like the technician side of things, like fitting phone lines. They buy a house together. Charlie takes a little while to move with things, so a lot of their friends are getting engaged and getting married, and he just takes his time. He does things in his own time, our Charlie. He doesn't feel the pressure from society. I have these straight, but they've already got kind of a kink in, and I think I'm just gonna have them wavy again. Lauren's mum was sick, and she had been sick for quite a while, gotten throat cancer. She'd had the all clear once, but unfortunately it had come back. She was in a hospice, would very sadly pass away not long after entering the hospice. During this time, Charlie was Lauren's absolute rock. Charlie is pretty much the perfect partner, just everything Lauren could ever dream of. However, there is one thing about Charlie that Lauren can't get past. It's that Charlie smokes, and given the way that Lauren's mum has passed away, and passed away quite young, she wants him to stop. She doesn't want to see anybody else who she loves fall sick to this horrible disease, which is likely to have been caused by the fact that her mum had smoked a lot back before Lauren was even alive. And Charlie, being the very supportive boyfriend that he is, agrees and says he's going to stop smoking. He does what a lot of people do, and he hides a few packets here and there. Lauren starts to get these dreams in which her mum would come to her and tell her, darling, Charlie's got a packet of cigarettes, and she would just get a feeling for where these packs were. She says one time there was one hidden under a deck chair in the garden, and a plant pot, and every time she would find them, they would just be absolutely astounded. They would take the cigarettes and they would put them on Lauren's mum's grave as a joke. Oh, this is like funny and cute. For Lauren, the fact that he was lying to her about smoking was actually quite hurtful. He was purposely hiding things from her, and she really genuinely did not like that. It would go on to cause some quite big problems with their relationship. The problem is, like with most people, when they do give up smoking and then they start to smoke again, it's like when they go out with their friends, they're drinking. And Charlie was a very sociable person. He was constantly being invited out. A lot of his friends were getting married that coming year. In fact, they had just booked tickets to go to Cyprus for one of his best friends' weddings, one of their joint best friends' weddings. And this particular evening, he was headed out to go to a stag do, which was just going to be in the local town. Lauren decides to go through his pockets. And inside she finds a packet of cigarettes. Now, Charlie insists that they must have been in there for ages. He honestly does not know where they came from. She's torn. She's like, I can't trust this guy. They have quite a big bust up and end up not really speaking to each other at all before he leaves. He's just sitting on the sofa in a strop with him. He comes in, tries to give her a big kiss. She's like, get away from me, sir. Not today. You're not having any candy from this candy store. He's like, come on, babe. Promise you, they're old. She doesn't have any choice but to believe him. He says his goodbyes. He says, don't forget to lock the door, Kev. Charlie is always getting invited out. Like, he is life and soul of the party, you know, one of those guys. She starts to get a little bit annoyed that he's always out. They have this little funny nickname where he would call her Kev because she was constantly left home alone. Yeah, I know, but to them it was special, it was cute. That was like her pet name, Kev. He tells her, don't wait up for me, Kev. I have work in the morning, I'm not going to be home too late, but don't fall asleep on the sofa because you'll get a bad neck again. She does exactly what he says not to do. She waits up for him on the sofa until around 12, and then eventually she falls asleep. Her lovely comfy sleep is interrupted by a dream from her mum, telling her to get up and look for some cigarettes. Now, Lauren has had enough by this point. She kind of thinks to herself, yes, I'm sure there are some cigarettes hidden in this house, but yeah, not tonight. I'm not going looking for them. He can be in the doghouse tomorrow when I find them. The dream does wake her up enough that she goes upstairs and gets into bed. Around 3 a.m, she is awoken again, but this time by Charlie, who comes into the room absolutely stinking of cigarettes. He gets straight into bed, fully clothed. He says to Lauren, I love you, babe, how was your night? So Lauren in her heart is absolutely furious, but it's 3 a.m, she does not want to fight. So she tells him, go and take all your clothes off, put them in the corner of the room, and tomorrow I will deal with them. He does that, he gets straight back into bed. Charlie is a typical man. The minute he gets into bed and his head touches the pillow, he is asleep. Charlie lays down and is quiet for 15 minutes and then sits back up. Lauren is very surprised. She's like, what on earth is happening here? She says, Lauren, I really need to talk to you. Charlie, can it wait? You have obviously been drinking. We talk about this tomorrow. No. I really need you to know this right now. If you say that to a woman after a night out, we're going to listen. He just goes into this monologue about how much he loves her and how sorry he is. Lauren's like, whoa, where has this come from? Because he has never been the sort of person to make this kind of apology. His apology normally would be like masked with humour. So this is very strange. So Lauren at this point is thinking, okay, he's very drunk. But he doesn't sound drunk at all. Like, he sounds quite sober. This makes Lauren sit up and take notice of what he's saying. She puts her arm around him, she comforts him, and she's like, Charlie, I know you love me. We will be together. We're going to stay together. He actually starts to cry. She assumes that it's because he knows how much he's hurt her. Maybe she's finally gotten through to him. And just as they're about to doze off again, Charlie sits bolt upright once again and he says, tomorrow, when you wake up, go into my cupboard. There's a shoebox right at the back. I want you to open it and I want you to take what's in it. In her head, Lauren is thinking, it's going to be another packet of cigarettes. And they finally go to sleep at 4 a.m. When Lauren wakes up in the morning, she's incredibly tired. It's 9 a.m. and she's not surprised that Charlie is long gone because his shift will have started an hour ago. She is surprised to see that he has cleaned up after himself. There is no longer a pile of his stinky clothes in the corner of the room. So in her mind, she's thinking, oh my God, he's finally learned. Like, he's finally actually, like, we've got a breakthrough here, guys. Not only is he not going to smoke, but also he's cleaning up after himself. Hallelujah. It's a miracle. She is well happy. She goes down those stairs that morning with a spring in her little step. She gets herself a coffee in the kitchen, and on her way back up the stairs, she looks at the door, the front door. She sees something that makes her stomach drop. Don't forget to lock the door, Kev. It's the last thing that Charlie said to her last night before he left the house. And she had locked the door. In fact, because she was so scared of being home alone, she had bolted the door. And her plan was that when he came home, she would get up and she would unbolt the door for him. But the door was still bolted, which either meant Charlie was still in the house, which she was pretty sure he wasn't because she's already been upstairs, she'd been in the kitchen, and she just would have felt him. She would have heard him. You know that feeling when you're not the only one that's home. She goes to the washing basket, which is in the kitchen, and she looks for the clothes that he was wearing last night, and they're not in there. So now she's panicking. She gets her phone, she calls him a few times, and it's just straight to answer phone. Now she's starting to question, did he actually come home? The interaction that they had had was so real that can't possibly have been a dream. He searches that house top to bottom. I'm talking like under the bed, behind curtains. She's screaming. She's thinking he's playing some sort of weird joke on her. So in actual fact, Charlie never came home that night. There was no apology monologue in the bedroom. There were no clothes that smelt of smoke. Charlie never came home. He never got as far as his front door. Charlie had left the club early. He'd left at 11:30, just as he said he would to Lauren. He stops at a convenience shop. He buys himself some cigarettes. And then he starts the journey home. And at some point on an A road in the pitch black, he's wearing all black, and he is hit by a truck pulling into little lay-bys. Rather than stop the truck, the commercial driver carried on going, even though it's thought that he realised he'd hit him, and never told anybody. So Charlie's body wasn't found until the next morning, which was around the same time that Lauren was waking up. In the shoebox in the cupboard, Lauren would actually find a wad of cash and a certificate for a diamond, which he had recently purchased. She believes that her mum and Charlie are smoking up a storm in heaven together. Lauren has come to peace with everything that's happened, and she did go on to meet somebody and get married. On the day of her wedding, there was a strong smell of cigarettes in the room where her and her bridesmaids got ready, so much so that as she walked down the aisle, the smell was coming off of her dress, and she believes that this was Charlie's way of